How we doing? Bob Brown here. So today I'm making a video about some rules, and I'll start by saying I got a lot of notes here, which to me is pathetic that I have to do this, but I also think it's necessary because I think there's a real problem when it comes to understanding rules in arm wrestling. So, I'm going to try to do this, and hopefully it'll help out, the specific rules I'm going to talk about in this organization, and then just rules in general, and arm wrestling rules in general. I've kind of got some thought processes out of order here, but I'm going to go through the thought processes and hopefully answer a lot of the questions that you guys will be asking as I'm going through this. I love when people start talking about the rules as if they're like this legal document, especially in the WAL, which is what we're really going to be talking about today, but I want to apply it everywhere. The WAL has been known for changing its rules literally on the fly, from tournament to tournament, super match to super match, in the same tournament from one match to another. I've seen rules not get applied here, get applied there. They'll specifically change rules. So, it's kind of funny when we talk about WAL rules. And from day one, I can tell you this. From day one, the WAL has had a set grip, okay? Arm wrestlers come to the table, they put their elbows down, the referee grabs the hands, they say close the thumbs, grab the wrists, say close. So it's always been kind of like a set grip, referee's grip as we call it in other leagues. And the reason they did it was because they're trying to speed up the match for TV, right? They don't want to see guys screwing around here all day long. I mean, it's boring. There's only so much TV time, and we gotta, speed things up. So there's just another point that'll come up. So the other thing is, so we're going to talk about this rule number 3 that everyone talks about, and I find it interesting that people keep harping on this one rule, and they completely disregard all the other rules. So rule number 3, and this is WAL rules, just want to be clear, WAL. Competitors will have 60 seconds to negotiate a grip with their opponent. After 60 seconds, if there's no grip, they go to the straps. Well, hear why the second you read that rule, bells and whistles should be going off in your head. And that simply is 60 seconds to negotiate their own grip. There is no such thing as negotiating your own grip in WAL. So instantly you should be like, well, what the heck is that? Because there is no negotiating your own grip. It's a set grip. So immediately you should be like, something's funny with this rule, And people are pointing that out, that it contradicts other rules. Well, exactly, it does, because, that's the biggest problem. So you better read the rest of the rules and not rely everything on that one rule, Here's what's interesting about that rule. If the rule was ever meant to where someone could simply just stand there, wait 30 or 60 seconds and get the strap, well, then why didn't they just write that? Why didn't they just write, if a guy comes to the table and wants the strap, it has to go to the strap? That would have been a much easier thing to write, but that's not what they wrote. So clearly that was never the intent, was for someone to just stand here or screw around or whatever to get to the strap. That's not what they wanted. They expect people to try to get a grip, with the refs doing it, listening to the refs, so that's not what the rule is. And I get it. You listen to these high-level arm wrestlers, and they'll say, well, all you got to do to get around this rule is fart around for 30 seconds or a minute, or just stand there for 30 seconds or a minute. And you hear these high-level guys saying this, and you'll even watch them do a version of it on TV or at a tournament, and you just accept that is in fact the rule. Well, but it's not. You should never do that. I mean, I've always said if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Well, all these guys are basically telling you how to get around the rule, how to cheat the rule. Well, just because there are people that can get around the rules or cheat a rule does not then make it the rule or acceptable. You know, you still gotta, you know, do the rules. Let's see. I told you I'd be jumping around here. I'm trying to get my notes. I think I've explained why rule number 3 was written. There is no negotiating a grip. Look at all that. So let's look at some of the other rules. Because yes, I agree. Number 3 seems really weird. But to me, it seems weird because it says after they're trying to negotiate a grip when there is no such thing as negotiating a grip in the WAL. So then to me, you got to look a little further. You know, if you go under the fouls section of the rules, after the command close your hands and prior to the go, there's no movement, you know, or that's considered a foul. If a competitor attempts to delay the match by not staying at the table, a foul. Intentionally moving your opponent off center after closing the hands, in other words, back pressure, it's a foul, you know? So when you look at, and these are all fouls prior to the go, so it really looks as if they want you to get a grip, right? Then they have this entire section about how to get a grip, as if this is what you're supposed to be doing. If we're gonna follow the rules, this is what you're supposed to be doing, get a grip. Number 3, under the grip, says competitors must follow all commands of the referee during the setup. So when you take all that into context, and then the last one here, under stipulations, the referee will enforce all the above rules to ensure the most fair and sporting match. So if you read all the rules, it's pretty obvious you are not supposed to figure out a way to cheat the system to get an outcome that you want, to just automatically go to the straps. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that was never the intent of these rules. So, you know, that's my opinion here on these rules. Now, I will say a few things. One, I was one of the people who wrote these original rules. Basically, they called me up, they wanted to do a running foul system, and they're like, man, how are we gonna write a running foul system? And I said, well, you tell me what you want, and I'll do my best shot at writing it. So I did, and I wrote some other stuff, and then they've gotten changed over the years. But here's where I think we can talk about all rules now. All rules, in my opinion, should be anytime there's a discrepancy, and there's always discrepancies, that the referee panel for that organization get together immediately after a major event and say, hey, you know, that kind of was a problem. We should maybe rewrite this or add this or subtract this and adjust the rules. But that never happens. I mean, the WAF, my famous story is back in 1994, we're at the Worlds in Brazil, and I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but something crazy happened, and it took until 2008 for them to actually finally change the rule, like to write it down. I was like, why wasn't it changed later that day? You know, so all rules, in my opinion, need to be written better. And even the ones that are written pretty good, like I think the IFA rules are written pretty good. I think the WAF rules are written pretty good, but even then, there needs to be clarification, because let's face it, the person writing the rules completely understands the rules They're the ones writing them. They know what they meant when they wrote something down. In their mind, they know what they meant. The problem is 1,000 other people have to read them and come up with the same conclusion. And that is what hardly ever happens. So, you know, the best way to do it is you write the rules, you give them to 50 people, you let the 50 people interpret them, and if they didn't all come up to what you think they should have come up with, well, then you got to adjust them. You know, in my opinion, that's the best way. So, to me, the lesson that we learned is read the rules, okay? Ask questions at a tournament. With super matches, especially with super matches, most super matches have money on the line. A lot of times they're between the two competitors, you know, but now we've got stake kings and other people are putting, you know, money on the line. So like me personally, I wouldn't even accept a match. I wouldn't even announce a match until all this stuff was figured out. Because when you're having a super match and you want to use a particular set of rules, I would make sure that both people understand what they're really agreeing to, because that way there's no surprises when you show up. No one has spent hundreds or thousands of dollars to fly across to wherever and get hotel rooms and spend a lot of money and then, you know, not have what they expected, you know, and I understand that's a problem, but, you know, we need to read the rules. We need to understand the rules. The WAL are very poorly written rules, in my opinion. They need to be reworded, especially when they go to tournament situations. Now, the reality is that WAL, every time they have a super match, they sit people down and say, hey, what do we want to do? They discuss it. It gets agreed upon. They have their match, and they don't ever bother changing a rule if they feel it needs to be changed. You know, everyone was complaining about some of the rules at the Devin Lorette, Michael Todd match. Well, they sat down, they agreed upon it all. Everything was perfect. And, you know, like that wasn't a WAL table, but they agreed upon it. So that's that, you know. This most recent match, which is what sparked this video, the Craig Toulier and Dallas Langston match, you know, people are talking about flying elbows and slips with elbows in the air and all this stuff. And I will say this, most everything was done perfectly, okay? I think the refs did a fantastic job. And you can make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Everyone sees things, doesn't see things. I know these two referees. I think they are the most honest guys in the world. And you know, I think the match happened and it is what it is. But here I just want to focus on the rules, because honestly, I think I should make another video about that match, because to me, it glorifies everything that is great with our sport and everything that is terrible with our sport. That one match kind of glorified all that from many perspectives, from rules perspectives, preparation perspectives, refereeing perspectives, and, you know, camera perspectives and things like that. So there you have it. I'll try to make another video on that, but this video has been way too long. It'll probably get the fewest views, but it should get the most. So at the end of the day, please everyone, read the rules of wherever you're going and then ask questions. Go from there. All right, hope you have a great day. Bye.